It's time for Myth of the Week.
All right. Well, this was a lot of fun this week. This one is this was a job site that I was actually on. It was a multifamily project I was on a few years ago, and this was kind of weird because they were real scared of what they should do, if they should even ask the inspector if we were okay to rough in walls and run Romex and stuff. So I asked this kind of true or false question, and I got a lot of people on this one this week. Basically, almost nobody got it just because everyone's been told kind of the myth. You can't run Romex till the building's dried in. It's got to have a roof, it's got to have windows, and we've always done that. We've always used that as kind of, I guess it would be like a rule of thumb, which is kind of where the myths come from. And, that's it's kind of weird, like, um, you know, uh, and so yeah, it's a dry location that's wet. Yeah, and there's a lot of people that say, oh well, that there's no way that could be a dry location, and there's no, then the cable's gonna get damaged and all this stuff. You're actually kind of assuming a lot, and so that's kind of like a hard thing to do. I feel that it's kind of on the general contractor's responsibility if they're gonna basically take the liability of the materials that you're installing. I mean, because I could see the inspector pulling like a 11014 damaged cable if he started seeing damage, like started seeing wet cardboard in the cable and stuff like that. So I could see this being something that the inspector could shut you down for. But as far as just the general, does it have to be dried in to start roughing? The myth is busted. I mean, this is a true myth. The building under construction is considered a dry location. So, like I say, we've been shut down on this numerous times from inspectors, and in all actuality, the inspector was kind of overstepping his grounds by actually saying we couldn't install cables. So basically, like I was telling you, James, it'd be really kind of weird for an inspector to say, hey, you can't run cable in that building. And you're like, hey, this cable's listed for you to be installed in a dry location, or I'm installing it in what the code is saying is a dry location. So I don't know that the inspector would really have much grounds to shut you down, but I know you probably have a little bit more expanded content on this.
Oh yeah, of course. So I went ahead. I put the 2023 NEC definition in, and it's just the very last part of the sentence, and it basically says, "As in the case of a building under construction." And
Right.
I went back and I looked at all of this, and I went all the way back to 1965, and it said the same thing. So basically, they for a long time they considered if the building's under construction, it's considered to be in a dry location. Even though it was wet inside, like the comment that was made earlier, that's still considered a dry location. So I'm
Yeah, and
pretty,
one of the comments that somebody said, which I thought was really cool, was it's the wettest dry location in the NEC.
yeah, that's funny. Now, I started thinking about this a little bit more, and I was thinking about construction and everything. And then I started thinking back, there was something that did go in the code, and it was in 334.10, I think it was. But when you go over here and you look at this and look at uses permitted, the only thing they ever really did when they started talking about the non-metallic sheet cable, Romex rope, whatever you call it, is they got in and started talking about types of construction.
Right.
Okay. And you would look at types because what you were showing there, that actually got into multifamily dwellings. You had apartments and stuff there, and it talked
Yep.
about the different types of construction that it applied to. And that was where you would go over and look at NFPA 220 to get that information for the occupancy classification definitions. And
Right.
And so I started thinking about, I said, well, that's the only place I remember any type of change taking place as it relates to a building under construction. Then you also have some information, which I didn't put it in here, but you could also go over and look at Article 590 and look at some of the requirements there. Say you were in a building and you were doing temporary. So,
Right.
there's different rules in there for that. And that's a building that's also under construction. Okay.
Yeah, and we have a lot of different temporary stuff. Like if you look at those turtles, the turtle power boxes we use, they don't have in use covers on them because basically the rule is that if the code doesn't require that to be an in use cover if you're technically supervising the cord. So if that cord's plugged in and you're not leaving it for overnight, when you unplug that cord at the end of the day, then that turtle cover snaps shut, and then that's weatherproof. So that's the only requirement from the standpoint of temporary is that that cord is supervised, and that when you remove that cord, that it's rain tight when not in use.
Right.
But technically, and I know we probably break this rule a lot. Everyone out there is gonna probably eat me up over this one, but we do break those rules a lot as far as leaving cords plugged into the turtle overnight for like our lifts and all kinds of stuff. And you get like roof leaks. I know I had one of my DeWalt chargers got fried because I was charging my battery and one of the roofs started leaking and leaked right on my battery charger, fried my battery charger,
Right.
So I was a little fired up about that one. Actually, it was a big shout out. The roofer actually came and brought me a new charger the next day because it was on. They didn't know where the leak was coming from. It just kept coming out weird spots, and so he ended up replacing my charger. So big shout out. There's a lot of really awesome dudes out in the trade that stand behind their stuff, and
Right.
I thought that was really nice of him to come bring me a charger, and so. You know who you are. Everyone's an awesome person out there. I know. Yeah, it was awesome. So got that replaced and everything. And like I say, we will see in the tour review.